Hey guys, tonight we dive into a family story that's anything but cozy. You're standing in the hallway, the air thick with tension, watching as your sister, her fiancé, and their tiny 3-month-old baby are packed up and shoved out the door by your own parents. Why? Because the house needs to make room for their swinger friends. Yeah, you heard that right. You probably won't survive this without raising an eyebrow or two. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your location and local time in the comments below. Let's see who's tuning in tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge down the hall, the wooden floor creaking beneath your feet, the scent of lavender from the living room candle almost mocking the chaos unfolding. Your parents, usually the epitome of tradition, are now telling your sister to leave, her fiancé trying to shield their infant with trembling arms. It's a modern twist on an age-old family drama. Historians still argue whether family loyalty is innate or a social contract, but tonight, yours is being tested hard. Did you know that in Victorian England, family disownments were sometimes public events, complete with announcements in local papers? A far cry from a quiet eviction, but the sting was just as sharp. On the flip side, there's this quirky fact. Some cultures practice ritualistic family exclusions temporarily to cleanse social wrongs. Less dramatic, but equally impactful. And as you watch your sister's belongings get tossed into a battered suitcase, you realize this isn't just a bad night, it's a fracture that might never heal. You stand there, feeling the weight of betrayal pressing down on your chest like a heavy stone. Your parents' choice is clear. They've picked their swinger friends over blood family. You wonder how it got to this point, how people you trusted could turn so cold so fast. You can almost hear the echoes of family dinners past, laughter mingling with unspoken tensions, now replaced by this cold, hard reality. The house that once held warmth now feels like a stranger's domain. Historically, families have always struggled with shifting loyalties. In early 20th century America, for example, there were cases where adult children were disinherited simply for marrying unsuitable partners. The debate among sociologists today is whether loyalty is truly unconditional, or if it depends on mutual respect and care. Your parents' actions seem to tip the scale sharply toward conditionality. Here's a quirky twist. Did you know some ancient tribes believed eviction was a way to purify family bloodlines? Harsh, but it shows that excluding family members isn't a new concept. It just wears different faces through time. You can't help but notice the bitter irony, as your parents open their doors wide for strangers while closing them shut on their own kin. That night, as you lie awake, you replay every moment, every look exchanged, questioning what family really means, and if yours will ever be the same again. You pack your sister's things quietly, the room heavy with unspoken words. The baby's soft breathing is the only sound that cuts through the tension. Your sister looks at you, with a mix of gratitude and pain, eyes that say she knows this won't be easy. Outside, the world carries on indifferent, as if your family's collapse is just another story lost in the noise. You recall how, throughout history, family crises often went unspoken, hidden behind closed doors to maintain a facade of normalcy. In Victorian England, for example, many family secrets, divorces, affairs, disinheritances, were kept tightly under wraps to protect reputations. Scholars today debate whether silence helps heal or just prolongs suffering. The way you silently help your sister feels like a quiet rebellion against that very silence. It's your way of saying, we're still here no matter what. An odd little fact. Some cultures believed that a newborn's first cry was a magical shield against evil spirits, protecting them from harm. You watch your niece's face, peaceful and innocent, and hope that shield holds strong in the chaos she's born into. As you close the door behind you, there's a strange mix of fear and resolve in your chest. Fear of the unknown and resolve to protect your sister and her child at all costs. You know this isn't just about family anymore. It's about reclaiming dignity from the ruins. You drive away, the house shrinking in the rearview mirror like a fading memory. The weight of what just happened presses on your chest, each mile a reminder that there's no going back. Your phone buzzes, your parents' names flash, but you don't answer. The silence feels like a shield, protecting what's left of your sanity. In this moment, you're reminded of a curious fact. Ancient Romans often built walls around their cities to keep danger out, but sometimes those walls trapped them inside, isolated and vulnerable. Historians still argue whether these walls saved the cities or doomed them. You wonder if your parents' actions built invisible walls around your family, cutting off love and trust. The city lights blur past your windshield, and you realize that your sister and her baby are your new priority, the unexpected anchors in your drifting life. That evening, you stop at a small diner, the kind with flickering neon signs and the smell of fresh coffee hanging thick in the air. The waitress looks tired but kind, and you think about how this moment, a stranger's smile in a quiet diner, might just be the start of something different. A quirky tidbit floats to mind. In the 1920s, some diners installed jukeboxes that played only love songs, hoping to boost romance among patrons. Maybe tonight, you need that kind of music, something hopeful, something to remind you that even after darkness, a new melody can begin. You sip your coffee, letting the warmth seep into your bones, and for the first time, you start to imagine a life rebuilt from the ashes. You wake up the next morning in a cheap motel. The hum of the air conditioner, a dull drone in the background. The faded floral wallpaper peels at the corners, reminding you of a time when things looked better on the surface, even if the foundation was crumbling. You run your hands through your hair, still damp from restless sleep. Outside, the sun struggles to break through a gray sky, casting long shadows on the cracked pavement. You remember that in medieval Europe, castles were built not just for defense, but to project power and control, solid walls hiding the fragile lives within. Historians still argue whether these fortresses truly kept inhabitants safe or trapped them in their own fears. Your phone buzzes again, a message from your sister. "We're safe. Thank you." The simple words hit harder than you expect. She's with her fiancé and the baby now, somewhere far from your parents' madness. You wonder what your parents think, if they even realize the destruction they caused, or if they're lost in their own world of denial. You pull your jacket tighter around yourself and head to a nearby cafe, the aroma of baked bread and roasting coffee grounding you in the moment. You order a black coffee and think about a quirky fact. In the 1800s, coffee houses were centers of intellectual discussion and rebellion, places where people challenged the status quo over steaming cups. Maybe, just maybe, this is your own quiet rebellion. As you sip, you start to plot your next move, not just for survival, but for a new life where loyalty and love aren't just words thrown around but lived every day. The days blur as you drift through a haze of motel rooms, coffee shops, and anonymous streets. You catch yourself noticing small things, the way light filters through rain-streaked windows, the soft chatter of strangers in a park, little details that remind you the world keeps turning, even when your own life feels suspended. Historians still argue whether the ancient Silk Road was primarily a trade route or a cultural melting pot. But one thing's certain, it connected distant worlds, much like your thoughts stretch between your fractured family and this unfamiliar city. You realize your journey isn't just physical, it's about bridging the gap between who you were and who you need to become. A curious tidbit floats into your mind. In Victorian England, some people believed in taking the waters at spas to heal body and soul. You wonder if healing could come from a simple ritual like a hot bath, or if it demands something more profound: time, distance, or maybe forgiveness. Your phone remains silent most days, a quiet contrast to the storm of emotions inside you. The house you sold feels like a closed chapter, a weight lifted but also a reminder of everything left behind. You remind yourself that cutting ties with your parents was like breaking a spell, freeing you from a toxic cycle, though the cost still echoes. One night, as you sit by a window watching rain ripple in puddles, you feel a fragile hope take root. You may have lost your old life, but maybe, just maybe, the future holds something better. You start to notice how small acts of kindness flicker around you, like fireflies in the dusk. A barista who remembers your name, a stray dog that follows you for a block, a fellow traveler sharing a story in a coffee shop. These moments stitch together a fragile patchwork of connection in your unraveling world. Historians still argue whether the fall of the Roman Empire was due to internal decay or external pressures, much like you debate whether your family's collapse was inevitable or could have been stopped. The truth is messy, tangled in a web of choices, betrayals, and chance. Speaking of chance, here's a quirky fact. During the Renaissance, people believed that wearing certain colors could influence your luck or health. You chuckle at the thought, pulling your worn jacket tighter against the chill. Maybe luck is less about colors and more about the moments you decide to take a step forward. You realize your journey isn't just about escape, but about rediscovery. Shedding old roles and expectations, you're learning to stand alone, not with bitterness, but with cautious hope. Sometimes, the hardest goodbyes lead to the clearest hellos. That night, as you lie awake to the hum of a distant train, you wonder if your family even thinks about you anymore, or if you've become a ghost in their story, a footnote they'd rather forget. But deep down, you know you're writing your own narrative now, no matter how uncertain the pages may be. The days blur as you move through a city that feels both foreign and familiar. You find a small apartment with peeling paint, and a creaky floorboard that sounds like a secret whenever you step on it. It's nothing like the home you left behind, but it's yours, for now. You trudge through the loneliness that creeps in with the silence, yet find strange comfort in the solitude. Historians still argue whether the invention of the printing press in the Queen's century was the beginning of modern knowledge or the start of information overload. Likewise, you wonder if cutting ties with your family was liberation or just another kind of exile. The debate rages in your mind, unanswered but persistent. A quirky tidbit. In medieval times, some people believed that wearing a live spider in your shoe would ward off evil spirits. You picture it and laugh quietly to yourself, grateful for the simpler superstitions of the past, while navigating your own weird and wild life. You remind yourself that healing isn't linear. Some days the weight of betrayal feels crushing. On others, you catch a glimpse of peace in the simplest things: a warm cup of tea, a sunset's glow, a kind word from a stranger. The world hasn't ended, it's just different now. Lying awake again, you hear the faint rustle of the city night and wonder how long it will take before the ghosts of your past finally stop chasing you. Maybe, just maybe, this new chapter is the beginning of something better. The phone rings unexpectedly one evening, breaking through the quiet of your apartment like a sudden thunderclap. It's your sister, her voice shaky, filled with desperation and apologies. You listen as she tells you about the chaos left behind, your parents' lifestyle unraveling even further, their swinger friends bringing trouble your way. She begs for your help, but the distance you built feels like a wall too high to climb. Historians still argue whether family loyalty should always outweigh personal boundaries. Your mind spins with that question as you weigh your sister's pleas against the pain of past betrayals. Loyalty is a complicated thing, especially when it burns as fiercely as the scars you carry. A quirky historical tidbit: in ancient Rome, family disputes were sometimes settled by a public gladiator duel. Not exactly the way you'd want to handle sibling drama, but it does make you appreciate modern conflict resolution a bit more. You smirk at the thought, knowing your battles are thankfully less bloody. You realize that forgiveness isn't an obligation but a gift, and maybe one you're not ready to give just yet. You gently tell your sister that you need more time, more space to heal. The conversation ends with an uneasy truce, the silence afterward louder than any words. Outside, the city hums on, indifferent to your personal storms. You sip your tea and think about how history is full of stories like yours. People caught between love and loyalty, trust and betrayal. Maybe your story isn't so unusual after all. Days blur into nights, and you find yourself drifting in a fog of memories and what-ifs. The house you sold, a symbol of the life you thought you were building, now feels like a distant dream. You wander the city streets, the buzz of neon signs and late-night chatter blending with the thoughts rattling in your head. Historians still argue whether radical acts of cutting ties have ever truly healed wounds or just buried them deeper. You catch a glimpse of an old couple sitting close on a park bench, their hands intertwined like roots of an ancient tree. It sparks a flicker of hope, a reminder that even after storms there can be calm. You take a deep breath, letting the cool night air fill your lungs, feeling the weight of grief and relief coexisting inside you. Quirky fact: in Victorian times, mourning jewelry made from hair was a way people kept loved ones close, somewhat unsettling, but also a testament to how humans cope with loss. You chuckle softly, imagining wearing a bracelet made from your ex-fiancé's hair. Definitely not your style. The city lights fade as you retreat to your quiet apartment, where the hum of a small fan lulls you towards rest. Your story feels unfinished, a chapter still being written. But for now, the decision to disappear was yours, an act of reclaiming control in a world that felt out of hand. You lie back, the room dark, except for a sliver of moonlight. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, but tonight, you let the silence speak, the soft cadence of your breathing, the only sound.